Uh, Folks, I know we're talking. I may just jump in here and just go ahead and say, yeah, welcome to Dr. Movie. I'm with my good friend RJ McCready. We've got a lot of catching up to do, so this is kind of it's another special episode, and we're just rolling here and talking about the good old days and just kind of catching up because we haven't interacted in a while, but we did have some fun back early on. We were doing Dude Looks Like the 80s together.
Yeah.
And then I wigged out and took off. And then you ran with it by yourself. Well, and then you're like, wait a minute, I got another idea, which came up with bite-sized cinema, which to me kind of changed the game.
Mhm.
And if you can take credit for what I'm doing now if you want, because basically I'm doing bite-size. I'm just doing it in my car.
I've handed it over to you, Rick, and you're doing a great job of it. So, yeah.
And I even say I think you requested Vanishing Point, which will come out right before this episode.
Great movie.
And I talk about, hey, if you like what I'm doing here, stop listening to this show and go check out Bite Size Cinema, because that's really kind of where this started, right? So, but yeah, everybody, RJ McCready's in the house, and this is gonna be a whole lot of fun, man.
It's like I listened to your episode with Dave Z, and it's great. Great you guys got together from Exploding Head podcast.
Long time coming.
I liked what he said, because he said, what film do I talk to Ricky Morgan about? And I kind of feel like that with today, It's like, here we are, we're finally getting to talk about Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, that there's not a lot I'm going to go, nah. I'm going to tell you, I'll give you a little secret. And this, everybody will hear this too, I guess. But I've invited my sister to come on and do a show with me. And she is literally a female version of me. We are totally alike. And I said, pick out a movie, let's do it. And she's like, well, I don't know what you would like. And we are actually going to do Teen Witch. Because that's one of her favorites. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun. So, that's the beauty of, I like movies. And, the wider the range, the better, I think. So I that thing of, what do we talk about with him? Because I'm open to whatever, man. And it's pretty obvious. You and I are cut out of the same cloth. We're just from a different continent.
It is, yeah. It's like, I live in England, you live in Texas, but
Texas.
Mate, Tennessee, where is that still part of Texas?
No, they were segregated a long time ago.
It's like when I hit play and you had the background for Battle Beyond the Stars, and so did I. Yeah, and we're both connected in that way,
Yeah, folks, if you're not watching the video version of this, I clicked on, I got Battle Beyond the Stars behind me, and then as soon as he clicked on, I was like, look at that. There you go. That same frame of mind again. Well, I expect nothing any different. I mean, that's just us, man.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, one of my prized possessions I have came from RJ. He sent, it's back in the Hell Ming days, but he sent us a poster from Canon Films that you had autographed by a lot of people on the poster.
That was it.
I don't know if they're legit or not.
Oh, yeah. That's Canon Films for you, isn't it, really?
But I mean, what a awesome idea, because again, you and I, the Canon stuff, I mean, what can you say, right?
Well, this is it. Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's
so
building block.
How does Battle Beyond the Stars any different, right? Because you're almost in the same category with the Roger Corman stuff versus the Canon stuff. You know what you're going to see is probably not top notch, but you're going to be entertained.
And exactly, it's a film that I can't forget about.
Right.
It's as much as I watch it, and a lot of people say, I've heard a lot of people say it's the best bad movie in sci-fi. Yeah, okay. But you watch it, but are you entertained by this film? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would say, is there films today that are like Battle Beyond the Stars? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got the director James Gunn.
Right.
And you look at Guardians of the Galaxy and you look at this film, and yeah, the two go together, I would say.
You can see the influence for sure, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of tying all these movies together, going back to just liking everything, because everything influences everything. It's a never-ending chain. And how can you not say Guardians of the Galaxy is not inspired, or James Gunn not being inspired? Don't want to be expired. Inspired by obviously he grew up with these same movies, right? Because like you said, there's characters in this, as goofy looking as some of them are, you still kind of love them. I mean, it's a part of your buildup because you've seen it so many times as a kid, and like you said, there's images and stuff you don't forget. No. And that's the name of the game, folks. How are you remembered, right? Good or bad, there's things that stand out. There's nothing worse than making a film or a song or anything that is totally forgettable. So sometimes you do the outlandish to make it stick.
Well, the other thing that makes me laugh at this film is that when I watched it when I was younger, George Peppard looked really old. And now he's look a little bit younger.
Just a little, right?
Yeah, as I'm getting older. But and this is it. You don't only have George Peppard; it's all the characters in this film as well, which you could almost see them do their own spin-off. I could see Space Cowboy.
Yeah,
today that would probably happen. If this film came out. Today.
Right. So we haven't even properly introduced the movie. It is 1980s Battle Beyond the Stars.
Sorry, people.
Well, again, I knew this would be. It's a sci-fi adventure flick, which says RJ and Rick all over it. Sci-fi adventure. There you go. That's all you need to know. Quick synopsis. The story, is it original? Absolutely not, because it's basically Seven Samurai or Magnificent Seven, just told in space. That's the way Corman rolled back in these days. But yeah, this says 7 space warriors do battle to save a peaceful planet from a ruthless conqueror who promises to give his laser-toting mutant followers eternal life by granting victims organs and limbs on their aged bodies. That's a little more detail than I expected, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Adapted from Seven Samurai. So there you go. It even says it right there.
It's a film that ripped off a film after a film ripped off a film, isn't it? It's in several different layers.
Yeah.
And it gets straight to the point as well at the beginning of the movie, doesn't it? With Sador turning up to is it Kira, and it basically outlines a plot in a couple of minutes, doesn't it? I'm here. I'm going to take over the planet, and I'll give you a week to.
That was something revisiting. I was like, wow, 11 minutes into it. And we've already gone through the setup of destruction of the planet to the young boy out on a mission. He's already flying a ship 11 minutes in.
That's it.
I was like, well, we're moving.
This guy doesn't mess around. And you got John Saxon as well, and he's great in this.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the cast, right? First and foremost, we got Richard Thomas, right, playing Shad. Actually, I had a friend named Shad, and I didn't even know. I mean, it was the first time I ever even heard that name. And then we go back and visit this. I'm like, wow, maybe she named him after this movie. I don't know, because I've never heard of a Shad otherwise.
I don't know anybody called Shad.
But I had a buddy named Shad, and I was like, wow. But yeah, Richard Thomas, John Boy in space, right? I don't know what else you need to know. I don't know if you're familiar with the Waltons or not, but it was a big show here.
That's right, Night Jim Bob.
Yeah, so Jim Bob. George Peppard, which you talked about a while ago.
The A-Team.
The A-Team.
Yeah. So that's as a 7-year-old RJ back in the day, that was what it was for me. It was Hannibal Smith in space.
Hannibal.
Yeah.
I love it when a spaceship comes together.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he plays cowboy in this, right? So he's. You see him behind RG right here in this picture. I mean, he's got his gun in his hand, cigarette in his mouth. He's an Earthling, which is odd in this movie. And it's a weird thing that's in this. And I know they're playing to the time that the movie was made, but he's making all these references to things that nobody has any relationship to whatsoever, because he talks about old Westerns and all this stuff. And it's like, what time period is this? Because the fact that you would even have copies of this movie in this time frame. Anyways, to back that up, you got Robert Vaughn. Now, who doesn't love some Robert Vaughn? I mean, Superman 3.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's right. One of the original Magnificent Seven, obviously.
Magnificent Seven. And basically playing the same role.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like his character. He's made so much money in being an outlaw that he can't spend it anywhere because no one will allow him to. It's just great.
I just watched a documentary on a thing we had over here called the US Festival back in the 80s. Big concert venue. The guy that was partners with Steve Jobs that created Apple. I can't remember his name at the moment. Dad burn, that's stupid. I should know his name. But same scenario. He's like, I've got so much money now, I really don't know what to do with it, so I'm going to spend multiple millions and just throw a big concert. But
Same concept.
Same concept, except, he didn't want to die at the end.
Fighting Sador in space.
Right. And speaking of Sador, John Saxton. And everybody knows it's been listening to this show. Got a lot of love for John Saxton. Even on Hail Ming. I mean, we're big John Saxton fans, hands down. Who I like? Who I like a little bit more than John Saxton though? Sybil Danning.
Yeah, he was going to say that. Yeah, I think the costume department had a field day on this one, didn't they? Huh?
Wow.
Wow.
And every time she's on the screen, you just like you forget every word that's being said. You're just looking, going, how is that staying on? Right. Wow, that's some super glue right there, man. Oh, but yeah, that's for the most part. Unless you can think of somebody else you want to point out.
Mention someone else. How do you know that you're watching a 80s sci-fi movie? Because you got Sam Jaffe in a box. How can we make this movie more 80s sci-fi?
Very true. Very true.
Budget was running a little bit slim.
And the guy that plays the main Nestor, Nestor number 1. Earl Bowen. He's been in a bunch of stuff too. So a lot of the other people are kind of regular people that are in the Corman flicks and stuff. So, but yeah, man. I mean, this is. We had made a comment. We were talking back and forth. We brought up Battlestar Galactica.
Yep. Absolutely.
And this was just the craze at the time, right? Star Wars just kind of made everybody start saying, we got to find our own Star Wars. There's no doubt they took Seven Samurai and tried to make Star Wars with it, because the fact that Richard Thomas, they even tell him, well, you're just a boy. You don't even know how to do anything, right? I mean, it's the same Luke Skywalker setup that you get.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt about that.
And we got to mention Nell.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, it's very, what can I say? Kind of inclusive, shall we say? As in, you've got a badass, as in Nell, and she's basically telling Shad to basically man up. So it's a story of a farm boy going on an adventure and becoming a man, and she's helping him with that. Yeah. And I absolutely love this spaceship.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in any other movie. I mean? I don't even know how to really describe it.
Yeah, I mean, because and what's funny is no other ship even has even the same kind of design throughout the rest of the movie. All the ships look like stuff from Star Wars. This thing, I guess they were trying to give it a. Well, obviously,
a mechanical look about it or something, wasn't it?
It's definitely humanistic, right? Because it's got priestesses on it.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And even the back of it, when it's flying over, it looks like a human back.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
It's almost like H.R. Giger, isn't it? From Alien.
Yeah.
It's a type of sort of concept.
It's got a touch of that, but I think they're just trying to make the ship as humanistic as possible, even with her being called Nell, her having the voice. And like I said, they're her landing gear.
Yes.
So what a weird idea. Now I have never done the research on why, but it does stick out like a sore thumb. But the beauty of this film, because you got one set of bad guys, but you've got all the other renegades that he goes and hunts down, the guns for hire to come and help. And every ship is totally different design, so you don't get confused on who's who.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great idea. Yeah. Because it's when in most shows it gets kind of difficult to tell because there's so much going on. But here there's no confusing, and they lay the film out to where you don't get that confused either. So.
And the other thing is with these other characters is that they're not good people either.
Right.
I mean, so you've kind of got a wolf to hunt the wolf down. It just depends which one's more evil than the other.
Right.
I think I get that impression with, was it Cayman, the lizard guy?
Yeah, the lizard dude. Yeah.
Most of the time he gets up to no good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's playing the Ito girl, right? I mean.
But the thing is, I'm kind of interested on what's going on with these characters elsewhere in the galaxy. What they were up to, and with backstories. So that's where this film, I can't forget about it. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got all these other characters, and they're great.
and you want more backstory of what even led to where they are, right? Who doesn't want, who doesn't want the guilt story, right? I mean, imagine how many movies that could be. I mean, because this guy has confiscated all this stuff and has riches beyond his own needs. What all do you have to do to get that, right? Because you hear him, yeah, I'm a hired gun. I kill for money,
And he's been sitting in that chair all this time until he turns up.
And even in his ship, it's like, and you can tell, man. I mean, it's low budget. There's no doubt. He's basically laying in a cardboard box, and he got some blinking lights on it. I mean, but that's the beauty of this movie, man. And I have to say, for the most part, from an 80s aspect, and going back and look at this, the special effects hold up pretty decently, man.
Well, I think they do, Rick, and I think I've heard you mention this before with your movie reviews. Does this film show you something different? All right, it's taken from Star Wars, but it's still showing you something different.
Absolutely.
And one of the scenes, which I think is fantastic, is actually Sador's ship, Hammerhead, coming down onto a Akira at the beginning.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Yeah, and the fact that the people are standing here and they're looking, and it's coming right overhead, and it's right there, right? It's awesome.
Yeah. So as much as this film is, sort of quote unquote bad, whatever, but there's some real gems which just go, wow, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean,
was it James Cameron that did all the sort of special effects on this film? Yep. So you can see where he's sort of plugged in, and then obviously his influence for.
I've seen him talk about just like gluing the models together and stuff,
Oh, I could imagine there was him. Give me another McDonald's box so I can, turn it into something.
Yes, I mean that's all they did is just start gluing stuff on there. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I'll always have a soft spot for this movie because, again, it's the whole ragtag. It's the A-Team, right? It's a ragtag. They've all got special abilities. Who's the little two guys that are with
Kelvin?
Kelvin.
Kelvin and Kelvin, no relation.
These little bitty guys, man, with big bald heads, and they are wrapped in. Their outfits are the same thing they did for Superman the movie, right? They took the 3M material and made the suits so when you shine a light on it, they like glow. So these little guys with these big heads are walking around glowing everywhere, and apparently can control heat.
I have no idea.
Yeah. They got some kind of power.
Your guess is as good as mine.
And what they're doing with the lizard guy, don't know that either.
Don't know. But that's it. You do that a lot through this film. Don't know.
Right.
Don't know.
It don't matter.
Right. But as much, I kind of contradict myself, right? By saying I want to see the backstory. But what I'm saying is that was growing up in the 80s. You kind of made your own backstory in your head. Right. So these films left you with a bit of an imagination. And yeah, this is it with this film. It's just I can't, as I said before, I can't forget it.
Yeah.
It plays around in my head for a while, you know. It's
Well, look how unique the whole Nestor thing is, right?
yeah,
So unique. And the spaceship is more like a Close Encounters of the Third kind of ship,
yeah.
right? And it's just a glowing,
Light
standard
show.
saucer UFO that we think of with these guys that have a third eye, and they're all called Nestor 1 through, how many of them is there? 6, 7? I don't know. But they're all somewhat clones of each other, but they feel and can taste and all that stuff what each other is going through, right? So you got the scene with the hot dog, right?
Oh, it's like
cowboy,
right. Yeah, I knew you were say that.
the cowboy's cooking the hot dogs, right? Why? How he got a hot dog? Who knows?
10% soybean.
How does a guy from outer space in whatever age this is have hot dogs? But anyways, they never really give you a time frame of what time, what year this is. Maybe it's now. Maybe it's current time. I don't know. But he's cooking hot dogs, and Nestor number 1 goes, "What do you got there?" "Yeah, that's a hot dog." And he gives him a bite, but he takes it and he holds it to the one behind him, and he takes the bite, and they're all chewing, and they all, agree with the taste and stuff. It's just a unique idea.
Yeah,
and why do they have a third eye? Don't know.
That's it. Don't know.
And it's not even a real third eye. It's just painted on her head.
And as much as we say we don't know, it's like, well, we don't need to know. It's just it is what it is. This is a Roger Corman movie.
And of course, the setup for that is when it comes down to Sador, right? When he has the one captured. Now, how did he capture him? Don't know.
Oh.
When did these guys ever get separated? Because the rest of them are all together. How did they grab the one Nestor out of the bunch? See, that's what I mean. You can start questioning way too much.
This is it, folks. When you watch this film, you might.
But they cut off the arm of this Nestor that they've captured, and they sew it onto Sadar's body. And the rest of the Nestors start controlling that arm and trying to get Sadar to kill himself, which is supposedly the plan of some sort.
I like what Sador says, because he says, when we get a little bit of time, maybe you can do something about this hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, what did they do there, right? They just took the Star Trek. When
we're not turning worlds into stars, maybe you could sort my hand out.
Oh man. But yeah, the hand tries to kill Sadar, so they immediately take the arm back off with this. What was the game? With this light bright covered chainsaw. It's a chainsaw, but it's got the little light bright pegs that you would put in the game Light Bright or Light Bright. And it's just slowly spinning. I was like, man, what are you going to cut with that?
You know what, Rick? That was the slowest part of the movie, wasn't it? That chainsaw.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this movie is actually, close to 2 hours long, but it moves really quick.
Oh yeah.
But you get your typical setup of the Star Wars where, he's being chased by other ships, and he's having to learn how to shoot. And, he's going against the leadership of Nell, who says, let me take care of it. No, let me take care of it. He's battling that whole thing of trying to be in charge and learning things for the first time. And he's on this mission to go around and find these other people to help. And, it works really well. It really does. Sybil Danning's character is like a Viking warrior, right?
Yeah, Valkyrie, isn't she? Yeah, that's it.
And so she's trying to die in battle, right? That's the whole glorious thing, is to have a beautiful ending, I think is what. There's one line in this movie though I never picked up on when I was a kid. I'm gonna mess it up, but it really caught me off guard this time when I heard it. And because she tells our main character Shad about our whole goal in life is to fight bravely and to die beautifully, have a beautiful ending. And he says, I don't see how dying is beautiful in any standard. She says, you've never seen a Valkyrie go down. And I was like,
hang on. How do I take that? Yeah.
Right.
And that's the other thing with this film. Watching it as a 7-year-old and as an adult, you start to realise how much innuendo is in this film as well. Yeah. Sexual content. It's a little bit rapey sometimes, isn't it, with these guys? You know, you're just thinking, whoa, hang on. This is really rinsing its PG rating. You know, like,
we have to bring up St. Orr's clan or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Because they've all got their heads been split open and sewn back together.
It's how do we make these guys look bad? Well, let's put this thing down the side of it. You know what I mean?
Let's try to cover up half of one of their eyes.
Yeah.
And, you know, push their nose up a little bit.
Yes.
It's like, why do they all look that way, but he doesn't, right? It's just it's just a weird thing, man. And I love the fact of they've got these viewers that come down, right, when they're fighting that they're looking through, and I'm like, shouldn't it be like misshaped because they got the one good eye and they get this other one that the opening's like this. So that's just something they missed, I guess, when they were putting this together. Wait a minute. They can't really see out of that eye. So why would the viewers, you know, look like a normal two-eyed, you know, pair of binoculars or whatever? Anyways, we're poking fun, but deep down, there's no doubt we love this movie.
And let's talk about the James Horner soundtrack on this film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, wow.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's just amazing. You really do feel like you're going into outer space with this film, you know, because I think every character's kind of almost got their own soundtrack, you know, when they're up on screen, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they did a lot of work with the soundtrack on this one for sure.
The other thing I was going to say, I put this film into a trilogy of me growing up at the time, and if you might get this as well, Rick, is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan and Krull. So I could see all these three films happening in the same universe. So, you know, like you got today with Marvel, I could see these films intertwining with each other, and you could have Prince Colwyn with Shad and Captain Kirk turning up to fight Sador and Carl, something like that, you know. So
fight some Slayers, man.
Yeah, and some Slayers. And I think a lot of that is because of the James Horner soundtrack.
Right.
We've all got the same theme, so yeah. So I put this as a trilogy.
Well, how about that?
But that's how I see it.
Well, you know what? It's your movies. You can do what you want to with them.
Another thing I was going to say as well, and this is a little plug into How Ming as well, you and Danny Bennett, because you mentioned it through Kroll. You got this big planet, just got one little village on it.
Right.
It's only got one village. Yeah. Nothing else going on this planet.
Yeah, and the fact that Sador even wants to waste his time on taking it over, because what do you got, 20, 25 people living there? I mean,
he's already got these people held. He's like, I'll come back in a week.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's like, why would you wait a week? Why wouldn't you just say, hey, we're changing the guard right now? Instead of going, I'm going to give you 7 days to accept me as your leader. And then if you don't, then I'm going to come back and make myself your leader. Well, what's the holdup? We have to have a reason to go to space and get this team together. So we have to have time. But realistically, kind of going back to Battlestar Galactica, they just show up, start blowing stuff up. You're done, right? So that's just an interesting thing. When I was watching, I was like, why 7 days? You know, because is that the theme we're going with 7, right? You got the Magnificent Seven, the 7 Samurai. You get 7 days.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
7 nesters. I don't know.
There you go. And you get a great land battle as well, don't you, with Cowboy?
Oh yeah.
And
who's obviously the Han Solo of the story. I mean, he's the cowboy, he's the gunslinger, he's, you know, doesn't follow the standards, didn't want to come here, didn't want to fight, but he did anyway, you know.
And he's got a belt with a little drinking machine on there, isn't it? I like that. Gives my vote, you know.
And he gets busted on that one. It's like, well, you forgot to put the water in the tonic. No, I didn't. You messed up. You left it out. No, I didn't.
And the movie, and we mentioned this already, but the movie poster for this is great as well.
Yeah, I love it. There's several artist drawings that I've seen of this that I really like. So yeah, very cool stuff, man. And it gives you that epic Star Wars kind of feel about it.
That's right. And what's rare about this, which is very rare in the 80s, everything you see on this poster is what you see in the movie as well.
Yeah.
And it's all there.
Yeah.
They
didn't oversell it, and they're pretty accurate, man. I mean, that's what Sybil Danning looks like.
You can tell this isn't done by Canon.
Right. But
they made the poster
would we
before
would we want to see Battle Beyond the Stars Part 2 from Canon?
Well, you're going to have Chuck Norris as cowboy, aren't you?
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, you'll have a caveman. You definitely have some ninjas in it, that's for sure.
Gotta have some ninjas.
And this is the other thing I was going to mention as well, and I'm pointing at you, Dan Bone, as well. If you didn't have films like this, you wouldn't have films that the sort of Dino Shark films that you have today. And that's just mentioning Corman, isn't it? Because he's basically the guy that you could go to in Hollywood to say, I've got this film. 9 times out of 10, he'll greenlight it.
Yeah.
And they're trashy movies, aren't they? But they're fun, you know. So.
Yeah. That's, you know, I went on that Carnosaur stint, you know, that I talked about, and it's basically like walking in the warehouse and go, let's see, well, there's a palm tree and a forklift and a dinosaur suit. Let's make a movie. I mean,
to do it, yeah.
I mean, we're looking at the Nestor character. I'm looking at it on your screen back there, and let's put a guy in a shower cap, spray paint it white, and put a third eyeball painted on his head, and put him in a white suit. And let's have the gloves only have 3 fingers.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And there you go. There's your alien, you know.
And then you got this Conan looking dude as well with Conan. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't say anything.
Nope.
I don't even know what he does, but he's there. In fact, he throws the spear, doesn't he? Like Crow. I know this one stuff. Oh, there's a, you know.
Yeah, he's just another helper of Cayman's, right? So
yeah.
That's kind of his role. He never says a thing, you know, which would be the role I would be great at in a movie if I didn't have to say anything, you know.
The strong silent type.
I could be a Kelvin, you know.
Oh
yeah. So yeah, man, lots of great memories of this.
When did you first watch it, Rick? On TV
about 1982 on HBO. Yep. Yeah. It was just on repeat pretty often, and it's one of those that every time it came on, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I was infatuated with Cayman at the time because that was pretty cool looking lizard outfit, you know, and the fact that he was going to eat that girl. But he was like, hey, you know, it's just what I do. You know, he wasn't like, rah. He was like, hey, how are you? I'm Kelvin, and I'm going to eat you. You're going to be my supper tonight. These are my friends, Kelvin. I mean, that's kind of his approach. I'm like, wow, how odd.
You just mentioned Sador, didn't you? That's it, right?
Sador.
Oh.
Yeah. So Sador has wiped out pretty much all of his civilization, and he's like the last one. So, he's out for revenge, you know. That's all you had to do.
But I watched this before I actually watched Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah, because so this kind of had more of an impression on me. Don't get me wrong, Star Wars is great.
Yeah.
But I saw this and I saw Battlestar Galactica first as well.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like my building block of people say, why are you the way you are today? I'll just go and watch. Just explain it.
I can't say that it's much different for me. I did see Star Wars first, but
Mm.
just I loved sci-fi stuff as a kid because we were really starting to hit the heyday of it. Because before that, it was so hokey that if I try to watch a sci-fi movie from like the 50s or 60s, I'm just like, I can't really get into it. But
Yeah.
Star Wars changed everything and made it gritty. Made it look lived in. Aliens did as well, Blade Runner. But when it just really changed the way everything was put together and perceived. And they spent time using the Kubrick's style of imagery for the spaceships and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It just took it to a whole different level, and it made it more realistic. It didn't look like a ship being hung by wires with fake smoke coming out of the back of it, just going across the screen, And I don't know. This was my bag when I was a kid. I loved these kind of movies, and you kind of see where Superman and all this stuff falls in this too, because it's that fantasy type thing, right? But these movies are way before I became a horror fan. This is where it started for me, was these kind of flicks.
Yeah, I can see that, because this is kind of like a good entry to horror as well, isn't it?
Sure.
Because there's a couple of horror elements in here.
Yeah, Dan Bone and I were just talking recently. We were talking about things in movies that we grew up with that weren't horror movies, but absolutely terrified us. And we brought up Pearl. The scene with the old man and he's the changeling.
Oh yeah.
Man, that's scary stuff. And Superman 3, the woman in the computer.
Oh, that gave me trauma. Yeah.
So yeah, these are that gateway. Well, I mean, just like cavemen in this, right? Here's a creature that is willing to eat a person. Hey, it's no big deal. Hey, it's just what I do, but you have to stop and go, wait a minute. He's got this girl hung up. He's being all nice and cordial, but he's going to eat her in a little while, and he probably won't cook her. He'll probably just eat her like she is, So you start putting that stuff together, you're like, like you said earlier, these are not good people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that really led to, I'm sure it's the same with you. It led you to start digging into those other movies, and then it becomes that chasing the dragon as far as the horror flicks, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I mean, like I say, I'm still discovering new films from this time period.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that you bring up on your show. I can't remember the name of the film now, but I see Dr. Movie coming up, and I'm thinking, how come I haven't seen this film before? And it turns out it's quite an entertaining film as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's why I like doing this show. The same thing with Helming. There's movies that you should have seen, and we either want people to revisit them, just like it's always fun to go back and revisit something like this, right? Because it's part of your childhood for one thing.
Yeah.
But for somebody who hasn't seen it, if you put it in the right time frame, you can see where that influence was going for everything else, right? That's again why I like the Italian stuff so much, because they were totally going to rip something else off, but they're going to show you a different way of doing it altogether.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I just watched one last night, and I reached out to Richard Glenn Smith from Hello the Doom Show, right? This is the Doom Show, and I was like, how is it possible that I missed this movie?
Mm.
And believe it or not, I know you're a big fan too of demons, right? There's a whole slew of movies that are considered demons movies, even though they're not in the title. They just consider them to be Demons 4, Demons 5, Demons 6. Well, I'm going through all of those.
Oh, I know. Yeah, The Church, wasn't it? I think
The Church. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one, The Black Cat. And I thought, okay, when I first saw it, I thought Black Cat's 1981, 82, Lucio Fulci. Why is it in the Demons? I don't know. It's not that movie. It's 87. Never seen it before. And it pretty much blew my mind.
Mm.
Why it's considered a Demons movie, I don't know. But that'll be coming up. I've got a whole Demons saga that's coming up where I go through all those movies. And, again, even I missed things. And I had to reach out to him and go, how have I missed this? And he's like, it's incredible, isn't it? But talking about that movie. Yeah. So, but yeah, just like all these trucker films, all the Smokey ripoff movies, I didn't know they existed.
That's probably what I was talking about when I was looking at your shows dropping on YouTube. I'm like, what is this? I didn't even know they did that. You know, I'm just, wow, like I say, the Smokey rip-offs.
Yeah. And Corman was a big part of that, right? Because most of those movies came out of his department.
the Ghost movie one that you did, it was like a detective type ghost film.
Yeah, Sherman Hensley. Yeah.
And I saw the trailer for it, and I thought, this film looks hilarious. It looks entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a recommendation from my buddy Britt Collins, who listens all the time too. And yeah, I mean, he kind of threw me a curveball there, because that's one I hadn't even seen. That I don't think that I had seen part of it before. I've never made it all the way through it. So yeah, that's the fun of this, man. But we've gotten way off track.
No, I love it. Yeah, it's all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. But of course, I've been doing a ratings kind of thing. So 1 through 5 on this movie, 5 being tops, right? 1 being crap. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It's almost a 5 for me, but I can't quite put it there, because I can't put it up there with the ones that I put as a 5, which is pretty rare.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 as well. I can't give it a 5 out of 5 because I don't think it will suit a 5 out of 5, if you know what I mean, for the type of movie it is. So it's a rip off of Star Wars, and it knows it is. Yeah. Is it showing you something different? Absolutely. And does it deserve to be where it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure deep down inside, George Lucas, when he brought out Star Wars, probably saw this coming. And if I'm honest with you, probably a little glint in his eye, thinking this is great, because this is probably what I wanted. I wanted to bring out sci-fi this way. So
sure. Well, you got to remember, originally he wanted to do Flash Gordon and couldn't get the rights to it. So
that's right. Yeah,
think about, you wouldn't even have Star Wars if you would have gotten the rights for Flash Gordon, which you think about Flash Gordon, how long would that have really last?
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it's amazing that out of desperate need of, I want to do a sci-fi flick, but I can't get the property that I want. I'm just going to make something up, and it become what it has and influenced everything else, even Flash Gordon in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Dean Laurentiis picked it up, and,
Yeah. And the legend is told.
Impetuous boy.
Such a fun flick, man. And that's the other thing, too. You said it a while ago. These movies know what they are.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have to respect them for that, because they're not trying to change the world. Are they trying to ride the shirt tails of other movies and try to make a profit? Absolutely. But at the same time, they're having fun with it. And if you let yourself go and just enjoy it, you're going to be heavily entertained. And I can't think of a better scenario than that.
I mean, I will say this, and people might disagree with me and think, what the hell, RJ, what are you thinking? I actually think that films should be made like this today.
Sure.
And you'll be surprised, because I always think that we've got so much CGI and everything, and it's fine, these films are doing well, but sometimes you got to go back to the basics, and you'll be surprised that people will go, oh, that's refreshing.
Right.
So if you go back to this style or wacky filmmaking with these types of effects, might end up having a hit. It's like, you never know.
There's movies that come along that really surprise you with, like you said, getting back to basics. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Rubber or not, which is
I did, yes.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly,
but when it came out, it kind of hit that reset button of,
grindhouse.
What is this movie even about? Even the people in it are going, this don't make any sense. Well, no, it doesn't. That's kind of the whole point,
It kind of reminded me of where Peter Jackson was going, if you know what I mean, with his brain dead type films.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up going back to this.
It's, again, even if it's low budget, it's originality. Even though, again, like you said, we know this is pulling from Star Wars, pulling from Seven Samurai, but taking it and making it your own and give it originality is saying something, right? For that, I really love it. And again, that's because of that love of the Italian cinema that I have, because that's 90% of what they do is taking an idea that was successful, but giving its own spin. And a lot of times in it liking that movie better than the movie they ripped off. But that's just me, right? But I can see that. I don't know if that's because of being a musician and you know what it takes to find your own thing, your own style. And it really comes from a culmination of all the other styles that you love, a la Tarantino, right? Yep. Tarantino did not just create this new thing that hadn't been there before. He cherry picked the stuff that he wanted and put it together, and it made this thing. Stranger Things, same idea.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And
as I mentioned with James Gunn, you know, with Guardians, obviously nails an influence on Star-Lord's vehicle.
Yes.
He also has I've mentioned this before, the blasters that he's got from the black hole.
Right.
I've never seen blasters like that before, and then all of a sudden Star-Lord's got them, and I thought, hang on a second, I recognise that somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very distinct gun style, right?
Yeah,
and let's face it, if he grew up a fan of Black Hole, you know he's a fan of this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I know that's another film that you like, you know.
Oh,
yeah,
I went to the theater and saw that Joker, man.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing soundtrack, everything, yeah.
Yeah, man. That music is just haunting. I mean, it sounds like a score from a 60s horror epic, you know.
It sounds like something revolving, doesn't it? You know. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In fact, a little shout out to Danny Bennett when you guys reviewed it. I'll never forget what he said. He said, "You know you're screwed when you got a ship called the Palomino."
Very true.
That's why I like it when you guys get together. It's great, a little bit. It's good. So.
Yeah, I wish we could do more stuff together, but he's got a lot going on, and you know. Man. Yeah. But we will. We'll get around to it some more. We've got. We're supposed to do Logan's Run pretty soon. But it's just trying to find time to get it done. So yeah, we had a request for that one. So.
Jazz up last, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So again, that's those that because of seeing movies like this, it made me go back and revisit those as a kid, because you start, you know, craving as much of that stuff as possible. And but yeah, that'll be a fun one for sure. But well, man, talk a little bit about your shows. I mean, Bite Size is still out there. You still on Legion? It's the first one when you first pull up the page. It's still #1 on there.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, 130 episodes if you want to have a listen. By the end of it, I ended up getting some guests on board, like you guys. I started reaching out to some people in the industry as well. One of the things I was proudest of was getting Jason Voorhees on the show from part 6, which was great. So, yeah, there's some good stuff on there, so check it out. My recent show is with Dan Bone from Haunted Hill, and we do on the aliens, which we're having a whole ton of fun with, which is a mystery. Explained.
Yeah, I mean it's a very interesting idea to come up with that. So, and again, that's you, man, and that's again you're always. I always tell people, and you're the same way. I'm ahead of my time. Problem is, I'm only about 15 minutes ahead.
Yeah. But like I say, I got you to thank for that, Rick, because you got me into podcasting and you invited me on to Doodle Aside the 80s, and the rest was history. So it's great. Yeah, we did. It's always good when you and I get together.
Howard the Duck, man, that was a fun time.
That's right. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
King Solomon's Mines.
I mean, we had some good times there, man. That was awesome. Yeah. But yeah, man, I like I said early on, I don't know if I got it on this recording or not, but I knew early on that, you know, you just had that ability. You had the knowledge. You know, your show has always sounded great. Your audio quality is always fantastic. And, you know, you're just a natural.
Thank you, Rick. One day I might know what I'm doing.
Same here, man.
Yeah.
Fake it till you get it, man.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of this, what you see is what you get. This is me most of the time, you know.
Right. And that's the other thing too. Yeah, I mean, you are who you are. Yep.
Yeah, and
except for your name, so.
exactly. Yeah, that's it. You know.
Except, I mean, this is the guy that Kurt Russell modeled himself after. If you don't know this, Kurt Russell's character in The Thing was modeled after RJ, my friend here.
Oh, my alter ego. Yeah.
Yes.
That's been great stuff, Rick. You know.
Oh man, always a blast, man. So glad to get to talk with you again. It's been a long time coming, and we're gonna do this some more, no doubt.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime you want to chew the fat, and you know, especially the 80s, because anything can happen in the 80s, as you say.
Still,
and I think the quote for today after watching this film is someone says, "What, you know, Battle Beyond the Stars? I don't know.
I don't know." All right, folks, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think about this movie. And RJ and I will be teaming up again, and we're going to find some other stuff and keep on rocking. Folks, we will check you later.
See you later.